Alrighty folks, want to welcome you back for another video from Yates Computers Tips and Reviews. Well, we just had Black Friday, Cyber Monday, all of those things go on. Been a lot of deals out there. Hopefully everybody's watched all my other videos. Watching for a lot of the warnings. I did see a lot of refurbished, a lot of other computers out there that will not meet the new Windows 11 requirements. So, hopefully everybody's watched all my videos. Everybody's up to date. Everybody's watched the security. Everybody's watched all the networking. For this one, I wanted to touch on a subject that I found that I was kind of really surprised to find that I purchased. Cat8 cabling, network cable. Did a whole series on this already. And network cabling is not as easy as people really think it is. Oh, it's just a network cable. You just go out and buy a network cable. Okay, you've done that. How old are these cables you have? This is part of the factor I have when I go to a lot of places, to a lot of sites. I work with people. I run into this problem a lot. I've mentioned it on other videos, on my networking videos and other things. This is one of the things that people do one time and they think they're done. Well, technology is moving so fast and a lot of things are moving so fast, you've gotten to the point where if you bought a network cable 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it could be a completely obsolete cable. Something that doesn't even meet today's standards and specs. I know you think, oh, well, that's not a big deal. It's, network cable. It's worked from the day one when I purchased it, and it's still working today. Okay, yeah, that's true. But the speeds have changed. You want faster. You want it quicker. You want it more reliable. You went from dial-up to maybe a cable modem to an internet modem of another style, maybe wireless, satellite, whatever situations or statuses that you could get. Well, you went from maybe a meg connection, 2 meg connection, 10 meg connection. Minimum standard here, what I got is a 100 meg connection to the internet. I know a lot of other things around here don't even support that speed. But the older cables truly can support 100 meg internet speed. But there's other factors that go on other than just that 100 meg internet speed. Your computer might actually be communicating to other things on your network. Other devices. If you're sharing videos from certain things. If you're monitoring stuff on your network. If you have certain hardware like firewalls and other things that might communicate to you on your computer or you're monitoring things depending on your tech level. So your 100 meg cable that you bought is actually trying to transmit 200 meg. Maybe even 300 meg, depending on what you're doing. So this is one of the catch-22s. Now, say you have a mesh network. You have some other kind of network. You might have, like I do here, I have some of it that is wired and wireless to a mesh network. Now, all those devices are communicating together through that mesh network. If you have something too far away and you have to use a cable, then it's communicating through that cable out to this far end somewhere, that you want to make sure you know what speed that cable is going through. Because now you have a device like a router or switch or whatever you have in that network, and if it's a gigabit switch and you have a 10100 cable on it, you're actually slowing down the communication. Not only that, you can cause errors in your communication that could cause it to rebroadcast and retransmit. That will slow down, that will delay, that will lag, that will cause buffer issues when you watch videos. There's a lot of factors that come involved with cables. Now, yeah, you bought that cable a long time ago, and it might be perfectly fine. You can't tell the difference. They look pretty much identical. But there is a lot of differences. Especially nowadays, if you buy new, more modern equipment. If you're out buying the new Wi-Fi 6 and the new equipment, the newer speeds, this cable is so fast that I don't know if I'm ever going to need to upgrade it. I believe it's rated for 50 meg or 50 gig. But the key thing with this cable is it's a shielded cable. So if you're running this from your router to your switch and it's shielded, that's a whole different kind of protection. Not to mention any kind of inner liner, shielding, any of that other type of stuff that I mentioned in the other videos. Compared to your standard cable, it has no shielding, it has nothing. One of the big key factors, I don't know if I can show, but between a Cat 5 and Cat 6, because I make a lot of cables, and one of the crosstalk factors and all of that type of stuff that I don't know if I went into at all on my last video. I might have touched on it, but is this little part right here. As you look in there, you see those wires that are showing. You can see the color code. I have a video on the color code. Told you when you buy these in the other video to compare the color codes. Look at them. Cat 6 ends and adapters, the good ones, you will not see that wire in there. Basically, what you'll see is something similar to this. See all the yellow? You barely see any of the wire. That cuts down on a lot of interference, crosstalk, and a lot of other things. So, there are a lot of variables and a lot of other little things that, you know, I probably didn't go into that much. I went into a lot of detail. But this is more of, when do you need to upgrade these things? Okay, yeah, you might have bought Cat 6 cable. You might know the color code. Maybe you bought A instead of B. For some reason or another, you start reading how B rates better than A and all of those type of things. You might decide, you know what? Let me go out and buy B. But when you go out to shop for B, you now have Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 7, Cat 8, and then there's different variables on those. You have business grade wiring, you have your risers, you have your, all these other things I brought up in these other videos. So when you go into a store, you're going to find 1 or 2, 3 maybe cables. You go into a high-end store, you're going to go in and find 15 or 20 different kinds of cables. And you're going to, well, I need 10 foot. And you're going to look at it and go, wow, what do I buy? You're going to look at the pricing. And you're going, I'm not going to pay that much. I'm not going to pay that much. That's way too much. That's about fair. Well, I think that's what I'm running now. So I'd go here. Well, if you shop around, especially online, like these, I bought, not from eBay or somewhere else, but from pretty much a reputable site. I don't want to name them. For like $5. Now, this is Cat 8. This is the newest, fastest, greatest thing out there. I can tell you, I cannot find a Cat 6 for $5. So, really, what is the true better value? I can pay $10 for a Cat 6 cable or pay $5 for a Cat 8 cable. That's shielded, better rated, insulated, whatever other standards you're looking for. So that's one of the tips I want to point out when you go to upgrade. When you go to upgrade, please shop around. Please look. The biggest problem I see is people go out and they said, well, I needed this. I've been thinking about this, so I ran out and bought it. Well, then they paid $25 for a Cat 5 cable because they thought they needed it. When really, if you would have went to a couple more stores in town, you could have probably found that cable or even a better rated cable for less. So that's one of the things I wanted to bring up in this video. This is more of to let people know when you want to upgrade this type of stuff. Black Friday came up. That's when this special was a Black Friday special. And I looked at it and I went, you know what? I have Cat 7, but for that price, I'm going to order 4 of those. It's $20. I can go out and spend 3 times that much or more for dinner. But here's the kicker. If I don't buy it for the $20 and then I need it, it's going to cost me $40 or $60 because I didn't do it. So that might be one of the issues you want to look at. Is look at, okay, I'm going to need this here pretty soon. Make a mental note of that. Shop around. Find out. Clearance sales. Businesses going out of business. You can find these things fairly good priced. If you know what you're looking for, that's why I have all the videos, is to inform you what to look for, what to know, so that you can do the wise shopping to know what you're getting. Because I've run into that a lot, that people go, well, I needed cabling, and so I ran out and went to this store, and this is what they had, so I got this. Okay, well, why didn't you go over to this store because they have this and this and this? Oh, I didn't realize that. I just needed it, so I ran out to the store. Okay, well, they actually paid twice as much for a cable from that store that was a lower grade cable than they could have got from another store. So that's one of these videos that I wanted to make. Because I have the buyer beware videos and I have all these other things. But I can see nobody's really watching these videos. So I really wanted to sum this up in a video on the cabling. Because I've already gone through the switches. I've done the standards and all the stuff about the different cables. But if you're a home user, even if you're a small business user, even if you're a big businesses, I think, are ones that fall into this a little bit more. Because here you're upgrading your equipment, you're changing your computers every 3 to 5 years. Most businesses have a rotation. They want to keep the fastest speeds. They want to keep the best quality. They want reliable things so the things don't crash and go down. They want to make sure that everything's stable because that's their business. They want to make sure 24/7 that this workstation's running. So if it's every 2 years they buy a new workstation, put it in to make sure that workstation's working. Because if you call a call center or you call a tech support or you call someone, you want to make sure that the person you're answering doesn't go, oh, I'm sorry, sir, our systems are down right now, call back later. that's part of the job being the tech support, is making sure you have the reliable systems, making sure you have everything that runs, making sure you do the maintenance on it, making sure you do all of these things. These are things actually home users need to do too, but most people probably don't. Backups, have videos on that. Security, lots of videos on that. Make sure you go back and watch all of that. So this is another factor that comes into play a lot. It's not that big of a deal, but it can be a big of a deal. If you're a gamer, you want to make sure you don't get caught in that loophole either. Because you don't want to be paying for a 500 meg internet speed running an old network cable that can't support it, that you have a lot of issues with. These are getting more stable, more reliable, with less crosstalk and a lot of other good issues with them. Do your homework, research it, but this is one of the factors that I run across a lot. A lot of troubleshooting issues can be resolved by as simple as changing out a cable. Because now it gets into a lot more technical stuff when you get into internet based. When you get into business, let's say you're running a POS system, a cash register system, something where you run credit cards, any of that sort. Those are all an encrypted point-to-point transmission, depending on how they are. If you're running a VPN, if you're running other things, you can be really affected by the quality and what you have. And it's quite an amazing thing, because in the old days, it was not really the grade in this and that of the cabling and how crosstalk and all of that worked. It was designed to run on a phone system with a lot of crosstalk and a lot of static and a lot of other things. But now that everything's gone digital and all these other little changes have changed, you know, a lot of newer people that get into the field probably don't understand, again, where the technology came from. The old analog stuff. You want to see a good presentation of the old style computer where all this stuff really started? Watch the movie War Games, where he had the handset that he'd have to put on the little receiver to dial out to the internet. That's how you used to communicate. I'm sure a lot of people still probably use modems. They're probably really rare. I don't know very many services that are out there, and I'm sure there's probably still people that use them. You see the commercial on TV. What's the sound this generation probably won't know that your generation does? That's the modem. So a lot of things have changed other than, oh, we just plug this in here and plug that in there now, and you connect through everything and all those switches and routers and firewalls. There's a lot that has changed. A modem, you just took the phone line up, and hopefully you had a virus scanner or firewall back then, or some other system software running. I have all those videos on switches, firewalls, modems, network cables, all kinds of stuff now that come into play. Back in the old days, there was a few things that came into play. Your phone line. What quality phone line? How many lines you had? How many ports? How many pairs were you using? Were you using a 2-pin, 4-pin, 6-pin? You know, there were different phone lines. How many lines did you have coming to your house? I don't know if a lot of people had more than one phone line come in on one standard phone. Business-wise, you run into that. We can have multiple lines on a phone. I had an old wireless phone that I bought for the house. I ended up buying the business grade one, where you can actually put two separate phone lines in, and when it rings, I'm sure most business people that have been in business probably 20 years probably had one of these where you could choose, oh, I want to answer phone line 1 or answer phone line 2. Some of those systems actually used one phone line to carry both phone signals. So there was variables back in those days too, but probably a lot of people didn't know about them. So this is where I wanted to do this video on letting people understand this. But you don't want to be running a Cat3 line as your network cable. That is now considered phone cable. So that is why if you're running something like a Cat5, not a Cat5e, E is different than 5 or enhanced 5. They are completely different. They are different generations of cabling. Wanted to specify that because I run across that a lot. Oh no, that's Cat5e. No. That's enhanced Cat5. And I have to show them a chart on, okay, you had Cat5, you had enhanced, you had 5, you had an advanced 5, and then 5 and enhanced, and then it went to a standard of 5e. So there's variable steps in there. Yeah, they say some of those cables can run gigabit, and they say this, and they can say that. But is it really worth using an older cable when you can just go out and buy something that is way better, way better than that old style cable? So that's one of the factors I wanted to bring up, is when is it time to upgrade these things? And to know what you're looking at, what you have, what you might be willing to get. Those kind of options are really what I wanted to target this about. And I know I have a lot of videos. Go back and watch them. But if you watch these videos and you understand it, and maybe you don't, maybe you need more information, there's a lot of videos out here on the internet that will give you information. I have a lot of content. I hope this helps. But as a home user and a business user, you might want to watch what you have. So next time you go work on the computer, go into someone's office, you do it at home. Next time you check your switch, maybe you have to reboot your switch. Look at what you have. Because maybe, and I've had this happen too, is someone had wireless in there. They bought a new wireless. They grabbed a cable, hooked it up, got it set, started to move their devices over. What did they grab? So, prime example, you put all of this in, Cat 8. You go out and buy a new Wi-Fi 6 router. You leave your old G router up there until you can migrate everything over, change everything over. Maybe buy new devices that you want to buy, your new streaming device or whatever that will be more compatible with the Cat or with the Wi-Fi 6. So you're going to work on these things in the couple months or whatever it takes, or a year, or whatever you're going to do to go over to that. You can have two different Wi-Fis hooked to the same switch and all of that, as long as you have them on separate channels. Got videos on all that that explains that. But you grab a cable and you go hook this up. No big deal. It works, right? No big deal. Might be Cat 6, could be a Cat 5, could be a Cat 3. It's working. It's for setup purposes. After you get all done a year later, You take out your old one, you go put it on the shelf, you go give it to a friend, you reset it up for someone else, another family member, your grandmother, your cousin, whatever. You give them that unit. What happened to this? You took that, put it on the shelf, maybe you gave it away to someone because you didn't realize you bought the newer, better cables. Well, that one's running, so you get up there and you look, and all yours are yellow cables, and you see a blue cable. And you look at it and go, oh, what? Check them out. See, make sure. Because you might want to just replace it with something. You don't really realize what you grab when you're in a project. Okay, yeah, now you're on that device full time. Maybe you need to upgrade. Maybe you have all just older cable to start with, and you put in Cat 6. Cable company comes out and says, hey, got good news for you. Your minimum internet speed just went from 100 meg to 300 meg. Come in, change out your modem. You go change out your modem, and you do all those things, and you're not seeing that much of a performance difference. You're testing, you're doing all these type of things. Check this. Might be time to upgrade. So, these are little factors that come along that a lot of people probably don't really think about. Don't really, oh, well, I've got this, I'm good. Yeah, you are really good, but you could be better. And if it's something that, if you shop around, especially like if you only need like one cable to go from your cable modem to your Wi-Fi router, and you can get it for like $5, I mean, that's an incredible upgrade. Not like where I have a router to mesh network to other places. You're talking, 3 or 4 different cables from mesh network unit to TVs, so they're not all on the Wi-Fi. Talking about 10 cables maybe. Can get a little pricey, but if you're on a smaller home, little unit, if you're on a business, that should be part of your expenses, is doing things like this, doing your minor upgrades, doing that type of stuff. When you go in to work on someone's computer in a business, even most of the stuff around the house, I have boxes of 1,000-foot Cat 5e and Cat 6 here that I use. This is just small little patch cabling I use from my switches to my routers from point B, point A, where I don't have to make it. Plus, because this is shielded, I hate working with shielded. It takes me 4 times as long, 5 times as long to do a shielded. But, good thing with shielded, if you do it right, and you put it in the wall and you put the right jacks, got the videos on that, it'll last you a long time. Most wiring, if you do it right in the walls and you do the proper installation, it'll last you a long time. That leads me back to this. It'll last you a long time. So, you might go open up your wall thinking you got Cat 5 in there. You might actually have Cat 3. Because at one time, Cat 3 was used for network. You might have standard Cat 5. You might need to upgrade that. So, these are just some of the little things that I wanted to bring up. This wiring is backwards compatible, so you're okay. But what's really nice is when you do this from your modem to your switch, from your switch to your wireless, whatever little devices. But those are the devices I really find people forget to look at. Yeah, they might go, oh, I got this wireless network or a wireless extender, and I plug that into my TV so I can stream. They might have the greatest cable running from their TV to their wireless unit or whatever, however they're getting that internet to that room. But where it originates from, they have the old wiring because all they've done is upgrade the hardware. That is one thing I realized too when I did the hardware videos. I know I mentioned some of the video with the shielding and showed the ports and all of that type of stuff in all my videos. But I did not go into the upgrading. When is it time to change this? I might have mentioned it a little, but this is why I'm doing this individual video. Because I find it all the time. All the time. I go in just to do a site survey to help someone out. Hey, we're having issues with such and such. Can you come on by? Yeah, no problem. Let me go check it out. Most of the time, I find older wiring. That's one of the key recommendations I tell them is try changing out your network cable between your computer and your wall. Because what I brought up in the other video too is these might last you a long time if you leave them in a fixed situation. That's why there's different kinds of cabling. Patch cable and the standard network cable. And what the differences are. If this cable gets moved a lot, it could actually kink and break and damage the wires and stuff inside. So you need a different kind of cable. Go back and watch all my network cable videos. So that might be another factor why you need to upgrade. And you might want to, well, not a factor of upgrading, but a factor of why you need to replace that cable. And while you go to look to replace that cable, look at the different grades and to find out, is it worth or is it a good option to buy this? Because let's say you need a 10-foot cable from your workstation to the wall. Well, you really don't want to use shielded unless you have shielded all the way. You might be able to buy a 10-foot shielded cable, take that cable, put it on your switch to your router, take that 10-foot cable from there, and use that to the workstation. Now you used a $10 cable to resolve two issues. You upgraded, you shielded between point-to-point devices, and you fixed the issue you had at your workstation. So, even for home users, some people have network printers. You have your wireless device with a network cable that runs from there to there. There's USB ones. There's all kinds of things still out there. What is the cable between those printer and the wireless? Wireless is getting faster. You heard me tell you about Wi-Fi 6. The communication between those two probably aren't faster. Shielded electrical devices. You might want to consider shielded, especially if they have shielded ports. In the other video, I showed you what a shielded port looks like. So, I think I'll wrap this one up. That should be a good enough explanation of why you might want to upgrade, when you might want to upgrade. And if you go into a store and you see a rack, $2.99 a cable, $5.99 a cable, that might be a good opportunity to buy some. Because if you're buying something like I bought, Cat 8, that's going to last me a long time. I don't know if I'll ever meet this internet speed. Because for me to even really meet this, I need to have a high-end server with a high-end NIC card that would even transmit at that speed. Or a high-end switch. So, well, I'm wrong on that. You actually need 2 high-end switches. Because you need one on each end that will transmit the same speed. So, it's not a waste of money. Because I bought this cheaper than I would have bought a Cat 6 cable. Or it could be close to equal price. It could be 10 cents different, 50 cents different, maybe $1 different. That would be something you might want to consider. But, again, this is shielded. The other cable's not. So, that can make a huge factor if you're going to the store and you see Cat 6, Cat 7, Cat 8, and you see this one's $6, maybe that one's $7, maybe that one's $6.50 for some weird reason. Might want to consider Cat 8. Going to a store, someone's got it on sale. Why do they have it on sale? Well, they ordered it and nobody's buying Cat 8 because, well, they don't have that speed. So why would they waste their money on Cat 8? So all of a sudden the price drops on them because nobody's buying them. That's an opportunity for you. Especially home users. You need like 3 or 4 of these? Grab them. It's just something I want to point out there. Put them on a shelf. You might need them. That's the one thing I always hate, is when I go into a store and I see something and I went, oh, that's a great price. And I don't pick it up. And then I'm mad 2 months later. Very, very mad. Because guess what I need? That item that I saw, and I went, man, that's a very good price. I should get that. And what did I do? I didn't get it. Now I got to go out and pay 3 or 4 times the price because I needed it. Just like this item I got back here that I'll be doing a video on. It was a great price, fit my need, so I grabbed it. So, let me just wrap this up. Wanted to go through these points because, especially if you're a home user, you might come across this somewhere in a store. Might come across it online. Read the reviews, read the feedbacks, do the proper things. And you might actually find out it's a really good deal. Surprising as it may be, sometimes you come across these things and it's like, wow, okay. And get it. Put it aside, and a couple months later, like, oh, hey, this is really old. Maybe I should change it out with one of those nice ones I got over there. And you do it. And then you'll probably see a huge performance difference. So, that's the tip that I got. This is the best advice I got for basically when you should upgrade these things. Is look at what you got. That's one of the factors I see a lot, is the people don't look at what's actually there. Yeah, it's networked cabled together and it's working. But we're having issues. Because you've advanced so much and you've upgraded certain things so much, but there's something still left back here. Everything else is up here. You want to bring all that up together. So, I hope that will explain it all. If you need more reference points on videos, on the switches, the network stuff, I have all those videos. But this is one factor I did not really come across on videos enough to point out. I know I've said if you have issues, Most of the time, change these out and it'll resolve the problem. But didn't get into a lot of it. Most of the issues that I do know of and why it resolves the problem is most of the time I'm upgrading these as I'm changing them. Putting in a better cable as you change them. That is one of my recommendations. Don't change out a Cat 5 cable for a Cat 5 cable. Change out a Cat 5 cable for a Cat 5e cable at least, because that's the minimum standard as of today. But if you're doing that, why wouldn't you just go to a Cat 6 cable? Unless you can't get it, unless the price is way too high, or something else is going on that you just cannot get it. And that's possible, especially now with all these shortages and all this weird stuff going on. But don't narrow yourself down to it has to be a Cat 5e or a Cat 6. You got Cat 7 out there. You got Cat 8 out there now. That you might, like I said, find that cheaper than what you're looking for. Obviously, if you can't find a Cat 5e or a Cat 6 cable you're looking for, you're going to want to go up and find something. And you might find it for a better price, like I just told you I did. So, I hope that's everything I could possibly think of to do with why you would want to replace this, when you want to replace it. And to remind people, don't always think that you have to replace Cat 5e with Cat 5e. There's a lot of research and a lot of things you can do. Do your homework. Understand what I'm telling you. The differences between the Cat 5e, Cat 6, Cat 7, and Cat 8. Because that's something that's priceless pretty much. Especially if you're a business. Because that's the worst thing you want to do is go out and say, oh man, I need cable. I'm going to go out and buy 300 of these Cat 5e cables. And I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you go in and you change out 300 cables all throughout your building. And you change out all of this stuff. And then you buy a new switch. And it's a 10 gig switch. Guess what? You're now going out buying Cat 6 or Cat 7 because you just now put in a hardware that really you need the better cable for. Where if you would have paid a little bit more, got that Cat 6, people go, well, the cost. But you got to realize, I just told you, you changed 300 cables that you're now throwing in the trash. And all your labor cost of changing these cables and doing all of this work, crawling through the floor and running stuff and tying it up and all of that stuff, and you have to redo. So that's one of the factors I want to point out, especially small business people, because you might bring someone in to do a network job for you, and they tell you it's going to cost you this much. But you can upgrade for this much, or you could do this, or you could do that, you could do this, but we only recommend you do the minimum. Look at that, and figure out what your future plans are, because if you're a growing business, you have the model line of a growing business. You want to make sure that you do the same on this. And the wires in your wall. Because that's the most expensive thing to change is your wires in your wall. So you really only want to do that once. So you might want to pay the costs, do it right, do it up to what you need to, so that when you do buy your new switch, when you do bring in your next 10 employees for your next department you're bringing in, your finance, your accounting, whatever, and you have that switch that you upgraded, this stuff supports it. Alrighty, I cannot explain enough how important that is. Obviously, it's very important since I've already done 7 or so videos on this network cable, ports, all of this stuff. Plus, it's mentioned in all my other videos. It's fairly important. Alrighty, I'm going to wrap it up because I can go on forever and ever on this, but I think by now everybody should understand. Thank you. Make sure you hit the like, the subscribe, leave your comments. Let everybody know I'm out there. Thank you.